Hi, this is Nick Bougen from CG Masters. What is a gobo? I'm sure this question has troubled you. A gobo is a shape cut out of a small piece of metal or drawn on a sheet of glass. The gobo, sometimes known as a pattern, is inserted into an ellipsoidal reflector spotlight, also known as a LECO or ERS, at a slot located at the focal point of the reflector. This enables us to project a sharply focused pattern of light onto the stage. We can also alter the focus by adjusting the position of the light's lens housing. Not to be confused with a cuculoris, also known as a cuke or cookie, this is a larger version of the gobo that's placed in front of the light source to create a pattern, but because it's not at a focal point, cookies are generally creating patterns that are out of focus, while gobos can be either in or out of focus. This is pretty cool because we can imply scenic elements outside of the scene that aren't actually there. In CG, gobos can be used in much the same way, but I think the biggest benefit is scene optimization. If you can project shadows from a two-dimensional map rather than having to generate a bunch of 3D geometry and ray trace shadows, it can create a significant performance boost, reducing both RAM requirements and render time. So the good news is that Katana comes with a gobo filter, which can be applied to lights within Gaffer 3. Creating a gobo is deceptively simple. So first we need a Gaffer 3 node, which is our main lighting tool. Within Gaffer 3, right-click and add a 3D light spotlight. This is equivalent to what we know as an ERS or LECO light. A modern version of this is called an ETC Source 4 in the real world. But here it's just called a spotlight. And a spotlight implies a focused ellipsoidal reflector spotlight. Very easy to add the gobo filter. Simply right-click on the spotlight, add 3D light, gobo light filter. The gobo light filter comes with a material. Well, first let's grab the spotlight and position it so that we can see it. I'm going to position it out on the side of the TIE fighter so that we can project onto the wing. And you can see when I select the gobo filter in the scene graph, you can see the gobo filter in front of the light. The gobo filter has its own transforms, so you can alter its position or not. You can rotate it, of course, or not, and that's useful. What we're mostly, you can also change the scale of it, of course, which is probably the most likely thing you're going to do. Generally, we want to put the gobo directly in front of the spotlight. Now, just because the rectangle here is directly in front of the spotlight, that doesn't mean it's like a cuculoris. You can have the gobo in sharp focus, so despite the fact that it looks like it's in front of the light, it still behaves as though it is at the focal point of the light. Under the material, we have the gobo filter shader, and all we have to do is put an image in map. So what I've done is I've found a couple of gobos, and one of the cool things is you can put any image you want in here. You can either create your own images to put in the gobo map parameter, or if you're like me and you're aware of Roscoe and Lee gobo patterns and other gobo patterns available, you can just do a quick Google search for gobo patterns and find a whole bunch of images like this. So over here we have kind of typical what we call foliage breakups. There's a scary bare tree. There's this is kind of the shape of stained glass windows without the stained glass. There's so many. There's big warehouse windows. There's so many different kinds, and of course you can absolutely make your very own using your favorite image editing software. But you can slap any image you want in there. I'm going to select one of the gobos, one of the leaf breakup gobos that I found, which is called the 222 small breakup. And now I'm going to live render this and see what it looks like. Okay, it's a little dark. I'm going to turn my light intensity up. There, now we can see how the breakup is working. It's exactly what was in the image. But it doesn't have to be a black and white image. Like I said, you can add a colored image. In live theater, one of the common images we use might be, for example, a stained glass. So we can simulate a stained glass window. We could use it for a movie projector. There's so many things that a gobo is good for. A couple of the disadvantages to the current gobo filter are that, first of all, it appears there is not a way to use an image sequence. And the second is it appears there is not a way to defocus the gobo. This isn't a huge deal because all we have to do is take our image into Photoshop or something and defocus it, and then put our adjusted image in, it'll be out of focus. But it would be nice to have the option to procedurally defocus the image right within the light filter. Anyway, that's pretty much all there is to the gobo.